going? We'll be going over version 6 today, and by now I hope all these questions are looking really familiar. I want you to be really comfortable with these. Okay, so number 1, simplify completely. Radical. We've seen many of these already. So we can combine it. Let me zoom in a little bit. We could combine these, right, under one radical. So I don't normally write this out. I'm just showing you this is the law that you can use to combine, right? So the 2 divides into the 36, and you get 18. No problem. We just started right now. Yeah, join the stream. All right, so yeah, okay. So let's do that, right? We got 3 times 18 is you don't have to actually multiply this. If you recall, I told you you can actually split up the 18 by 3 times 6. So that way you can see it's a 3 radical 6. Right? That's probably the way I would do it. Answer choice D. Number 2, which of the following is a factor of the polynomial? So by now, I'm actually going pretty quickly through these problems. So if there still is something that you would want me to clarify, please ask in chat. Otherwise, I'll just kind of go right through. Okay, so we're simplifying this trinomial here. It's a quadratic to be exact. So we can just do the trial and error method, which is 3x times x gives us the 3x squared. And then we have 10, right? For 10, we have either 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. And then the order also matters too. But we need to be to get a sum of a 17. So when I do my outer times my inner, has add up to 17x, right? So if I put the 5 here, I can see the outer is 15x. The 2 here gives me 2x, right? And these are both positive to get plus 17x. And then I see that there is no x plus 5, but there is an x, 3x plus 2. So that is the correct factor. All right, number 3, simplify completely. So we're taking a polynomial and dividing it by a monomial. So you can divide the monomial into every term in the numerator, right? So you have negative 4x to the 17 over negative 2x cubed. And then you have plus 6x to the 6 over negative 2x cubed minus 8x cubed over negative 2x cubed, right? And then since this is division, you can do the quotient rule. So this comes out to positive 2, right? Negative 4 over negative 2 is positive 2. X to the 17 minus 3 is x to the 14. 6 over negative 2 is negative 3. X to the third, right? 6 minus 3 is 3. And then plus 8 over 2 is 4. And the x's cancel out. So we have 2x to the 14th minus 3x cubed plus 4 is D. Any questions? All right, moving on. We have number 4 is our Pythagorean theorem, right? Because we have a right triangle. So we have the leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse, right? Squared. So since the unknown leg is the unknown side is a leg, we have to subtract, right? So you could do hypotenuse squared minus the leg squared is equal to your other leg squared, x squared. And then you can square root both sides and only worry about the positive. So that's 36 minus 4 is equal to the square root of 32. And 32 is 16 times 2. So radical 16 times radical 2 is equal to 4 radical 2. That is D. Okay, number 5. I really hope everyone got this one by now, right? I've emphasized this one a lot. Says a vertical line, right? So if you recall, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's the point, 7, negative 4. Vertical line means a line is going through this vertically right here, right? So that means it's going through the 7, the x coordinate, right? So that's why it's x is equal to 7. Every value of x, right, at this vertical line is equal to 7. That's why it's x is equal to 7. Now, just a quick side note, what would it be if they asked for the horizontal line instead? The horizontal line. The horizontal line is going through which point? All the y's are -4, exactly. So y equals -4 is the correct answer for the horizontal line. So they will ask you either or. That's why I want you to really understand this, okay? It's not always going to be the vertical line or always the horizontal line. Okay. Moving on to the next page. All right, we have to simplify this radical expression here. Now, you could just type these into the calculator, right? But since I'm doing a video, I'll just do it by hand. So radical 32 needs to be simplified. That means the 8 times radical 16 times radical 2 gives us 8 times 4 times radical 2 is 32 radical 2, right? And then the radical 50, so have 3 times radical 25 times radical 2 is 3 times 5 radical 2 gives me 15 radical 2. So we are adding these like radicals, right? Radical 2, radical 2. 32 plus 45 equals 47 radical 2. D. Okay, number 7. Solve for y. I see my y is on the right-hand side. So I need to isolate the y, right? I'm going to subtract 4x on both sides. So I get z minus 4x is equal to 6y. Then I divide both sides by 6. And I get y is equal to z minus 4x over 6. See that? Be careful. D has z plus 4x over 6. So it looks very close, but make sure you don't mess up your signs when you move terms. Number 8. Simplify. Okay, we need to distribute and remove parentheses before we can combine like terms. So the first group here I can just remove, but the second we have to distribute this negative here, right? So this becomes plus 7x squared plus 5x minus 5. So now we combine like terms. We have 10x squared plus 7x squared is 17x squared. Negative 10x plus 5x is minus 5x. 11 minus 5 is plus 6. So we have 17x squared minus 5x plus 6 is your answer choice A. All right, number 9. This is another calculator one that you can do with your TI-36X Pro. Right, so have you been practicing using the system of equations feature or the function in your calculator? I hope so. You want to be pretty comfortable with that, right? So it says, what is the x coordinate? So they want us to solve the system, but they're only asking us for the x coordinate for the solution, right? So we might consider canceling the y's out, but if you want to do that, you would have to find the least common multiple of 3 and 4, right? Like normally if they didn't care about just finding x, I would probably cancel out the x's right now because it's a negative 4x and negative 2. So I only have to multiply the second equation by a negative 2, right? So just because they're asking for the x coordinate and we don't want to solve for the y coordinate. I mean, you can, but if you don't want to, you would have to cancel the y's out. Okay? So let's do that. I'm going to multiply the first one by a 4. So let me do this. Normally, I don't write it like this, but usually when you multiply both sides, you would have to do something like this, right? 4 times 4 times. Okay? Um, it's just people being lazy if they multiply it as one set of parentheses. Anyway, 4 times negative 4x is negative 16x plus 12y is equal to negative 40. Now for the second equation, I would multiply this by negative 3. So negative 3. That way we can get opposites, right? So this one would be positive 6x minus 12y is equal to positive 30. Now we can add vertically, and as you can see, the y's cancel out because they're opposites. You have negative 10x is equal to negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 10, and you get x is equal to 1. A. And we're done. Okay, if you actually canceled out x, you would have solved for y just now, and then you would substitute it back into one of the original equations to solve for x. So you see how that's the additional step that I was trying to avoid, at least for this problem. Number 10. So the little shortcut, I mean, you could do this on the calculator and save you the headache, but I do, for those of you going on to Math 6, this is the by hand method that I was trying to get you to remember, right? So radical 42, so I know that I'm trying to distribute this radical 6. So I see the radical 42 has a radical 6 there and a radical 7. So when I visualize it that way, I can see radical 6 times radical 6 is already a 6 and radical 7, right? And then plus 2 times 6. So that gives me 6 radical 7 plus 12. That is answer C. Right? You see these little things can help you do these quicker in your head. All right, solving the one variable linear inequality. So we need to gather all the terms with x to the left-hand side and the non-x's to the right-hand side. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides here. So when I do that, I have negative 5x plus 3x is negative 2x. And I have to add 5 to both sides. So this is going to be greater than 3 plus 5 is 8, right? In case you were wondering, here's the step before. Plus 3x greater than 3 plus 5. So now we can divide both sides by negative 2, right? And when you divide by negative 2, you have to remember the inequality sign flips, right? So this greater than becomes a less than. 8 divided by negative 2 is negative 4, right? And the graph of that would look like an open circle at negative 4. Less than means towards a negative infinity, so that is answer choice A. Any questions so far? All right, well, moving on then. Okay, last one here on this page is number 12. So again, this is our example where if this were an equation with one fraction equals another fraction, you can cross multiply, right? But since this has multiple terms on the right hand side, you can't do that. The best way to do this is to find the LCD, right? The least common denominator, right, of 3, 6, and 2. So I know the LCD, multiply all the terms. Okay, so LCD is 6. I'm going to multiply all the terms by 6. So that gives me 6 times negative 10 over 3 is equal to 6 times 5x over 6, and then minus 6 times 5 over 2. So when I do that, this is over 1, right? So this is 2 times negative 10 is negative 20 is equal to, these cancel out, so you can just get 5x. This is a 3, so minus 15. You see how the fractions are all cleared out? That's what happens when you multiply by the LCD. So now it's a one variable linear equation. Add both sides 15, right? So you have negative 5 is equal to 5x. Therefore, negative 1 is equal to x. And we have answer choice B. All right, so don't forget that one. That's how you do that. Let's do number 13. This time we have a two variable linear equation. I hope you remember the intercept method of solving this, right? Otherwise, you would have to change this equation to slope-intercept form. But I do want everyone to be very comfortable with the intercept method because, oh yeah, sure, I'll go back to 12 real quick. Did you have a question about 12? And I'll post a video of this shortly after we finish this. Okay, great. All right, back to 13. Yeah, that's the intercept method, Isaiah. So we set x equal to 0, right? So if x is equal to 0, that means you have 4 times 0 is 0, minus 2y is equal to negative 12. So we're covering up the 4x because whenever that variable is equal to 0, it's pretty much gone, right? 0. So you're left with just negative 2y is equal to negative 12. So y is equal to positive 6. Right? So your first order pair is 0, 6. So you look for the answer choices, and only B and C have it. That means A doesn't have it, and D doesn't have it. Then we move on. Cover up negative 2y, right? Because this time y is equal to 0. So we have 4x minus 2 times 0 is equal to negative 12. So we have 4x is equal to negative 12, right? And divide by 4, so x is equal to negative 3. So the order pair is negative 3, 0. And as you can see, C is incorrect. That's positive 3, 0. Negative 3, 0, 0, negative 6 is right there. So it's answer choice B. Okay, any questions with that? That is the cover-up method or the intercept method. Alrighty. Number 14 and 15. If y represents a number, right? So our number is y there. So that means 8 times y, right? This is 50 less than 8 times y. So when you say less than, it's always this first and then minus 50. The equal sign is the is. So you have 8y minus 50 equals 51. And I look for that is answer choice A. Any questions there? So remember, the subtract from, less than, right? Something less than. Those are always after. It's not before. Number 15, find all solutions to the equation. This is a quadratic equation, right? So we have to first set this, put it in the Standard form, set it equal to 0. So add 9x to both sides. You have x squared plus 9x plus 20, and you also want it to be in the highest to lowest power, right? Now, excuse me, the quickest way to solve these, right, is to factor if it's factorable, right? You don't want to do this quadratic equation here, otherwise it will take you longer. And as you can see from the answer choices, the x's are all equal to an integer, right? So you can see that these are factorable, right? That's the takeaway from that. So let's factor this. We have 20, so since a is equal to 1, right? All I need to worry about are factors of 20 that add up to 9, the b, right? So that's 5 and 4. So that gives me x plus 5. X plus 4 is equal to 0. So now using our 0 factor rule, you set every factor equal to 0, right? For the product, 0 product rule. So now x is equal to negative 5 or x is equal to negative 4. And that is answer D. Any questions there? By the way, you can put that into your calculator and use the poly solver feature, right? You do want to practice every single function on that calculator, and that actually saves you a ton of time, right? That's why some people can finish these tests really quickly. Number 16, factor completely. And as you can see, there's a GCF, which is what we always look for, right? The GCF happens to be, what is this, 4y, right? And if you're stuck, even look at the answer choices. They have 4y, 4y. So it has to be 4, right? Either 4 or 4y. And you see both terms have a y, so it has to be 4y, right? All right, so now we factor the 4y out. We have 25x squared minus 4y squared. And please don't forget, this is a difference of squares. Something squared minus something else squared, right? So that can factor into 5x plus 2y and 5x minus 2y, which gives us answer choice B. Okay. Number 17. A is equal to negative 2, B equals 4. Evaluate the expression below. So anytime there are negatives being substituted, and I like to use parentheses because otherwise the squares would get messed up there, right? So we have b times a, so 4 times negative 2 plus 4 squared plus negative 2 in parentheses squared times b is 4, right? So this is negative 8 plus 4 squared is 16 plus negative 2 parentheses squared is 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, so now I have negative 8 plus 16 is equal to 24. C. Alrighty, any questions there? Moving on. Let's just do 2 at a time here. Alright, so which of the following is a factor of the polynomial? Alright, so there are 4 terms. That makes me think a factor by grouping problem, right? So let's split this up into 2 groups, right? So these are the 2 groups. I'm going to factor the GCF out of both groups. Okay, so in the first group, I see that there's a 3 and a C. So factor the 3C out, and we have 5W plus 6Z. I move on to the second group. I see that there's a 1, right, because 5 and 6, there's no other common factor, and then there's a D. So 1D, it's positive, so it's positive D. I get 5W plus 6z. Okay, now I look at it as one problem, and I see there's a common binomial factor in both groups, 5w plus 6z, and then the remaining factor is 3c plus d. Okay, so 5w plus 6z does not exist, but 3c plus d does. That's the answer choice B. Number 19. It says multiply. So we have to do distributive property, right? So 4x times x squared times 3x times negative 3, right? And then we have negative 6, don't forget that sign, times x squared times 3x times negative 3. So the first term is 4x times x squared is 4x cubed, right? You have to add the exponents. And then plus 12x squared minus 12x. Then you move on to the negative 6, you get negative 6x squared minus 18x plus 18. Now we look for like terms. So 4x cubed is all alone. You have 12x squared minus 6x squared is plus 6x squared. Let me actually cancel these out so we can keep track of them. Then we have negative 12x minus 18x. That gives us minus 30x. And then lastly, plus 18. Right? 4x cubed plus 6x squared minus 30x plus 18. That's D. All right, number 20. Simplify. So we have the power rule of exponents here, right? Inside the parentheses, there's nothing to really simplify just yet until we remove the parentheses. So now we have negative 5 to the third, right? We have x squared to the third, y to the negative first to the third. That's what the power rule is, right? So essentially, negative 5 to the third is negative 125. X squared to the third is x to the 6, and y to the negative 3. Now we do not want negative exponents. We have to make them positive, so we have negative 125, x to the 6, and then over y to the positive 3. Okay, y to the third. And that is the same as answer choice C. Any problems there? Okay, number 21. Find the equation of the line passing through the points negative 4, negative 14, and 6, 26. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. So first thing we need to do is find our slope. Right, so I'm going to label this x1, y1, x2, y2. So slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is 26 plus 14, right, is equal to 40 over 6 plus 4 is 10. So our slope is equal to 4. Next, we plug it in into our, well, we could just plug it into slope-intercept form if you want. So that gives us negative 14. So y is equal to m times x, right? X is negative 4, and then we have to solve for b. So negative 14 is equal to negative 16 plus b. So we add 16 to both sides, and we get positive 2 is equal to b. So now we have our slope, we have our y-intercept. That means y is equal to mx plus b. That is answer choice B. Okay, so that one's not, the calculator won't do that one for you. You're going to have to know how to do that by hand. Alright, what is the slope of the line graphed below? If you remember this, that's great. Remember I said, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see the points. I said start off with one of the obvious points, negative 3, 0, and follow the line down until you come to your next obvious point, which is 0, negative 5. So now, we're always going from left to right, right? So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is down 5, and then right across 3, right? Across 3. So down 5 means minus 5 over 3. So that's my slope. And that's answer choice A. Oh, dropped my pen. Okay, let's do the next one. We have 3 problems left. Alright, so this next one, we just have to convert it into slope-intercept form, right? That means solve for y. So we have to add 3x to both sides. So we have 10y is equal to 3x plus 60. Next, we divide by 10 to every term, and we get y is equal to 3 over 10x plus 60 over 10, which is 6. So that shows me m is 3 over 10, and the y-intercept is 0b, which is 0, 6. Right, so that is 3 over 10, 0, 6. Answer choice C. Okay. 24. Solve for x. We need to distribute to remove parentheses. So this is negative 6 minus 8x is equal to negative 2x minus 24. So let's gather the x's on the left-hand side and the non-x's to the right-hand side. So I'm going to do negative 8x, we're adding 2x, right, is equal to negative 24, and we're adding 6. So this is negative 6x is equal to negative 18. And then divide by negative 6, so we have x is equal to positive 3. So that is C. Last but not least, number 25, we're using the laws of exponents here. So I look within the parentheses, each set of parentheses, there's nothing to really simplify there. So now I multiply using the product rule of exponents, right? So 9 times 4 is 36, and then x to the 5 plus 2, y to the 3 plus 2. So that's 36, x to the 7, y to the 5th. B. And we are done with the final exam. Anyone have any questions?